Okay, so we left off talking about the future of learning, and, with these 7-minute modules and microlearning, it really does feel like things are changing.
Yeah, like the old way of doing things, those long, boring trainings, they just don't cut it anymore.
Right, it's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Mhm.
People are busy, they have a million things going on.
Exactly. And who has time to sit through an 8-hour workshop these
No.
days?
No one. And even if you do make the time, you're probably not going to remember most of it anyway.
Yeah, it's like our brains just can't handle that much information all at once.
Exactly. And that's where microlearning comes in. It's all about delivering information in these short, focused bursts that are way easier for our brains to process.
So it's kind of like snacking on knowledge throughout the day instead of trying to eat a whole feast in one sitting.
I love that analogy. It's about making learning more manageable and sustainable, something you can actually fit into your busy life.
And it seems like companies are starting to catch on to this because more and more of them are adopting microlearning as part of their training programs.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's
Yeah.
becoming super popular, and for good reason. The research shows that it's incredibly effective.
Like we talked about in the last episode, microlearning can increase knowledge retention by up to 60%.
Exactly. And it can also cut training time by up to 60%.
So it's faster and it works better. It's like a win-win for everyone.
It really is. And it's not just about the numbers either. When you make learning more engaging and relevant, people are actually excited to do it.
Yeah, they're not just checking a box, they're actually learning and growing.
Exactly. And that leads to a more motivated and productive workforce.
So it's not just about training employees, it's about creating a culture of continuous learning.
Absolutely. It's about fostering a growth mindset where people are constantly seeking out new knowledge and skills.
And these 7-minute modules, they seem like the perfect tool for that.
Oh, they totally are. They're like these little nuggets of knowledge that you can consume anytime, anywhere.
And because they're so short and focused,
Yeah,
you can easily fit them into your busy schedule.
exactly. It's like sneaking in a workout for your brain.
Yeah, I love that analogy. So, okay, we've talked a lot about the benefits of microlearning and 7-minute modules, but let's get practical here. For our listeners who are thinking about implementing this in their own organizations, what are some tips for success?
That's a great question. First and foremost, you need to make sure that the content is actually relevant and engaging.
Yeah, like no one wants to watch a boring video or read a dry textbook.
Exactly. The content needs to be something that people will actually find valuable and interesting.
And it needs to be delivered in a way that's easy to consume and understand.
Right.
Hmm.
Think about using a variety of formats like videos, animations, quizzes, interactive exercises.
And keep it short and sweet.
Yeah,
No one wants to sit through a 30-minute lecture on their phone.
exactly. Another important tip is to make sure that the modules are accessible on any device.
Yeah, people using their phones, tablets, laptops, desktops. You need to make sure that the learning experience is seamless across all of them.
Exactly. And finally, you need to promote the modules and make sure that people know about them.
Yeah, like what good is a great learning tool if no one uses it?
Exactly. So make sure to communicate the benefits of microlearning to your employees and make it easy for them to find and access the modules.
Awesome. Those are some great tips. And for our listeners who are ready to dive into the world of 7-minute modules, where can they go to learn more?
Well, there are a ton of great resources available online. Just do a quick Google search for 7-minute modules and you'll find a wealth of information.
And of course, we'll also be sharing some links in the show notes.
Definitely. So go check it out and see how microlearning can transform your learning journey. We've been talking a lot about like the individual benefits of microlearning, but I think it's really interesting to consider the impact on organizations as a whole.
Yeah, like how does this shift to microlearning actually change the way companies approach learning and development?
Well, for one, it makes learning way more accessible.
Hmm.
In the past, training was often seen as this separate thing, like you had to take time out of your day to attend a workshop or sit through an online course.
Yeah, it was like this big event that disrupted your workflow.
Exactly. But with microlearning, it becomes much more integrated into the flow of work. You can just grab a 7-minute module whenever you have a few minutes to spare.
So it's like learning becomes a part of your daily routine.
Exactly. And that's a huge shift because it means that people are constantly learning and growing, which is essential in today's rapidly changing world.
Yeah, it's like instead of trying to play catch up, you're always ahead of the curve.
Exactly. And that makes organizations more agile and adaptable. They can respond to new challenges and opportunities much more quickly.
And it also creates a more engaged and motivated workforce.
Totally. When people feel like they're constantly learning and developing, they're more likely to be engaged in their work.
And that leads to better performance and productivity.
Exactly. It's a win-win for everyone.
So it sounds like microlearning is really a game changer for organizations.
It really is, and I think we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of its potential.
Yeah, it's exciting to think about what the future holds for microlearning.
Totally. As technology continues to evolve, I think we're going to see even more innovative and effective ways to deliver microlearning.
And these 7-minute modules, they're definitely leading the way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They've really nailed the formula for creating engaging and effective microlearning content.
And they've made it so easy for organizations to implement and scale.
Exactly.
Mm.
It's not some complicated software system that requires a ton of training. It's just simple and straightforward.
So for our listeners who are thinking about adopting 7-minute modules, what advice would you give them?
Well, first and foremost, make sure that the content is aligned with your business goals.
Hmm.
You want to make sure that the modules are teaching your employees the skills and knowledge that they need to be successful in their roles.
Yeah, it's got to be relevant.
Exactly. And it also needs to be engaging.
Right.
You don't want to just throw a bunch of dry text and bullet points at people.
Yeah, no one wants to sit through a boring lecture.
Right. Think about how you can make the modules interactive and fun. Use videos, quizzes, games.
Make it a game.
Exactly. And finally, make sure that you're promoting the modules and making them easily accessible to your employees.
Yeah, you've got to make it easy for people to find and use them.
Exactly. Put them on your intranet, send out email reminders, create a buzz around microlearning.
Awesome. Those are some great tips.
Oh.
And I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive into 7-minute modules.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We talked about the science behind microlearning, the benefits for both individuals and organizations, and how to implement 7-minute modules successfully.
Hopefully, our listeners are feeling inspired and ready to embrace the power of microlearning.
If you're looking for a way to boost your knowledge and skills in a way that's convenient, effective, and engaging, definitely check out 7-minute modules.
They really are a game changer.
And that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.